Welcome to my presentation. My name is Kidist. My presentation title is Addressing Healthcare Disparities in Afro-Uruguayan Community, and the subtitle is Approach to Overcome Health Barriers. I will start the presentation by introducing the country, where it is located and the demographic condition. Uruguay is in Latin America, sharing borders with Argentina and Brazil. In 2024, the total population is estimated to be 3.4 million, of which most of the population is inhabited in the southern part of the country. Ethnically, 87.7% are white, 4.6% are black, 2.4% are indigenous, and 5.3% are unspecified, other or none. Uruguay is a presidential republic, and Spanish is its official language. Uruguay is divided into 19 administrative departments. Although Uruguay was injured by Brazil from 1825 to 1828, Uruguay secured its independence after 3 years of military campaigns. Over 80% of the population live in urban centers, and the rest 20% live in rural areas. Nearly over half of the population live either in or around the capital city. Due to its very low population growth, the people are aging very rapidly. For decades, its population will remain the same. Uruguay is one of the high-income countries where access to clean water has reached to 100%. Although Uruguay achieved high in many developmental indicators, Afro-Uruguayans are still facing social, political, and cultural discrimination. The research aimed to identify cultural barriers that prevent Afro-Uruguayans from adopting better health practice. This research will also examine how social, economic, and cultural barriers are creating healthcare risk for Afro-Uruguayans in particular. The research finding will help us in highlighting the role of culture in limiting or fostering improved healthcare practice. The research will also help us finding solutions that will address the social, cultural, economic, and political barriers that are faced by the Afro-Uruguayans. What is the objective of the research? The primary goal of this research is to identify cultural-related health problems and risks. Then the other one is access cultural practice and pinpoint its limiting effect on adapting to better health care. And the last one is to make recommendation for possible solutions. Okay, the socio-economic condition of the country. Uruguay is export-oriented economy with annual GDP of 82 billion. Its economy is highly dominated by its service sector, followed by industry and agriculture. Uruguay economy ties with the United States. Nevertheless, it shows trade imbalance, for about 78% of each export is associated with 2% of imports. Uruguay has achieved remarkable economic development and performance by reaching access to clean water to 100% of its population, as I mentioned earlier. Uruguay also have provided free education from primary to university level. This is even unthinkable even in the most affluent countries such as like United States. However, Uruguay has not benefited from its investment in education due to its skilled human capital flight. Therefore, Uruguay should close its trade imbalance and devise smart policy to retain its skilled labor so that it may fully maximize return on its investment on education. To close its trade imbalance, Uruguay should diversify and increase the volume of its export and add more value to its export. Despite Uruguay's remarkable economic development, Afro-Uruguayans are economically marginalized and excluded from many economic activities. As a result, disproportionately higher rates of poverty are registered among its African descendant populations. Historical and social context. Afro descendants are the result of slavery, that was marked during the colonial times. Despite the significant historical and contemporary contribution to artists to make up the country, the Afro-Uruguayans face systemic exclusion from social, economic, cultural, and political aspects of the life. They are mainly concentrated in and around the Montevideo, the capital of the country. Economically, Afro-Uruguayans constitute the most disadvantaged and poorest community of the country. Disproportionately, many of them are employed in low-skilled economic activities such as construction, domestic work, and cleaning. Because they are engaged in this low-skilled economic activity, they remain as the most marginalized group in the country, and as a result of poverty, perpetuates itself. Youth unemployment is very high among African descendants, which result in a structural barrier to access better health care and stable employment opportunities. Their marginalization would be taken as an indication of the historical legacy of slavery may still have its mark in the country. Even though their rights are guaranteed in the constitution of the country, Afro-Uruguayans continue to face significant disparities in economic, social, and political sphere. The economic life of the country is highly dominated by the white Uruguayans as opposed to the Afro-descendants. While the contribution of Afro-Uruguayans to the development of the country is substantial, the lack of equitable access to resource and opportunity remain a pressing issue in the country. The presence of enduring impacts of historical injustice underscore the need for immediate intervention to promote their socio-economic inclusion. Okay, the cultural contribution. In spite of the continued marginalization, Afro-descendants have continued immensely to music, dance, art, and literature. African folklore is especially prominent during Montevideo carnival celebrations. In the day-to-day life of the country, many African-derived words have become part of the country's popular language. Evolution of candombe and tango from Africa rhythm. Despite facing systemic exploitation, Afro-Uruguayans have preserved their cultural identity and played a crucial role in shaping Uruguay national and cultural identity. Activism for inclusion. There is a continued exclusion rooted in the historical slavery. Benefits are not equally distributed even though their constitution proclaims equal rights. Afro-Uruguayans have found civic and political activism to promote inclusion. And this exclusion manifests itself in limited access to education, employment, social service, and consequently perpetuate cycle of poverty and marginalization. In response, Afro-Uruguayans have found civic and political activism to promote inclusion. This social and political activism have helped them achieve wider attention to the historical injustice faced by the Afro-Uruguayans, and it will push others, especially the dominant group, to bring systemic change to promote their participation in national life. Their activism keeps them alive and give them a purpose in the ongoing struggle for equity, and highlight the resilience of Afro-Uruguayan communities in the face of enduring challenge. Okay, the health risk and the cultural barriers. And the subtitle says social and cultural barrier causing the health risk. The cultural and the social norms have huge implication in healthcare delivery system and structure. Low rate of participation in education significantly contribute to low income, and that would further lead to poor health. Cultural, social, economic, and political discrimination lead to perpetuate poverty, and that would perpetuate health problems. As the World Bank report clearly indicates, despite the country's effort in expanding access to education, the probability of completion of secondary education for the Afro-Uruguayan population is lower by over 20%. The study conducted by the Uruguay National Survey of Adolescent and Youth, which was conducted on the age group between 12 and 29, about 60% of them reported that they have faced discrimination in schools. Accordingly, this has resulted in mental and physical health problems. People with disabilities in general and Afro-descendants, women with disability in particular, have been excluded from social, political, economic, and cultural space and have been forced to bear compounded effect of such an exclusion. Discrimination also creates communication barrier. Cultural and social norms have huge implication in healthcare delivery system and structure. Low rate of participation in education significantly contribute to low income, and that will further lead to poor health. Cultural, social, economic, and political discrimination lead to perpetuate poverty, and that will perpetuate health problems. Cultural health barriers, which include attitude, belief, norms, play a significant role in shaping healthcare delivery in Uruguay. Unequal treatment to one aspect of life can lead to another very independent aspects of life. Distrust between communities often arise from unequal treatment that would further complicate the relationship between healthcare providers and marginalized population. Addressing this challenge requires a holistic approach that recognizes the interconnected nature of social, cultural, and systemic barriers. Effective communication strategies are essential to bridging the divided and ensuring quality healthcare access for all communities in Uruguay. Measures taken to address inequality. Uruguay took steps to address the discrimination, and President Tabari appointed a presidential advisor for the Afro-Uruguayan affair. Consequently, the advisor started initiative for Afro-Uruguayans, women in youth through the Ministry of Social Development. Uruguay have invested on its education sector so that the citizen may have free education from primary to university level. Uruguay made possible universal access water, which is a remarkable achievement. Solutions suggested. What has to be done? Addressing the challenges that Afro-Uruguayans require a holistic approach to recognize the interconnected nature of social, cultural, and systemic barrier, and allocating substantial resources that match the complex problem. Within the limited resource of 10,000, one must creatively think how to spend most efficiently. Areas of focus must be identified, and the remarked budget has to be utilized without any wastage. Okay, what will be the expected outcome? The expected outcome will be, this is a suggestion, increase awareness of cultural barrier and their impacts on healthcare, improve capacity of healthcare professionals to provide equitable care, and the other one is strengthening trust and communication between communities and healthcare system, and the last one with enhanced access to healthcare and educational resources for marginalized group. How can we use $10,000 or the budget allocated for this research? Okay, we can use the first 3,000 for media campaign and awareness program to create awareness. The other 3,000 we can use for supporting existing grassroots community associated initiative of the marginalized group. The 2,000 we can use it for healthcare providers and capacity building, and the remaining 2,000 we can use it for communication and advocacy initiatives. And I left the next 3 slides. I left the references I use for this research, and the last 2 slides will be appendix. Hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you so much.